Welcome to the All Around Joe podcast. We optimize your human performance from my personal experience as an athlete, coach, and all-around self-improvement junkie. On this edition of the All Around Joe podcast, I'm going to be talking about, are routines killing your progress? And we're going to get into this because it is interesting to hear about and see about and learn about people that are coming through the Get Better project and whether or not they're having results and what their mindset is, because we do such a deep dive into people's whole lives and improving them and you from a whole. It is very telling when we get into routines and what people think about of routines. So we're going to deep dive into that today. This podcast is coming to you from the Van Studio if you're watching this on YouTube or Facebook. And we are in Mammoth Lakes, California, which is a fantastic place if you guys have never been here. It is a skiing and mountain biking mecca area, especially if you like downhill mountain biking. I'm kind of like so on it. I like the downhill, but I also like to work for the uphill, so I wish that they had a little bit more uphill around here that we haven't found yet maybe, or that they just don't have. But that's all good. And also they have a library here that has smoking fast internet. So if you're a worker from the road, you can get a lot of work done while you are here in Mammoth Lakes. Haven't tried much of the food, so I can't really say much about that, but yeah, there we have it. Let's get right into this. Are routines killing your progress? So one thing that I've noticed is, especially with working out, people like to find themselves in routines. And for a lot of times, including for myself, you had to get into these routines because that's how routines were, how progress was made, or how like exercise routines were established, right? So you do like a bicep routine or a back routine or a chest routine. And a lot of times, even back when I was learning a lot about this in college, going to get my kinesiology degree, we'd learn about these specific routines for different goals. And you can have a routine for a goal, but the key, or the thing that I really want to get into, is that the routine that you should be focusing on is the routine or the habit of doing the work. Okay, so 4, 5, 6, 7 days a week, you're doing a hard workout, you're getting in the routine of eating well, eating great foods, that type of thing, getting, timing, macros, that is your routine. And then you change things up. So one thing I always thought about and that I was always scared of when I started to do CrossFit and other high intensity, constantly varied movement programs is that there was no routine to it per se, right? There might be a lifting routine or a strength routine that you do, but the actual workouts day to day were not any part of routine. They were completely random. And sometimes people think of this like, oh, you don't know what you're doing because it's randomized. A coaching expert like myself, when they're programming, is putting together a randomized program that is essentially attacking all these different areas of your body, of your energy systems, and trying to make you adapt but not overtrain. So there's all of these things that are going into it. But if you're following a quote-unquote routine, you are not going to get results very long. And we would see these all the time, and I noticed this early on and had to figure this out for myself, that you'd get these people to get into the routines, and they'd go to the gym, and they'd do the same thing over and over again because it worked really great for a few weeks. And they saw fantastic results. And some people, depending on your genetics, might have it work great for a few months. There's that higher end limit. But then they stick to it and they don't change it. And the change is what your body needs to adapt. So if you get stuck into I had somebody recently ask me, is there a set routine that you follow per day of the week? So Saturdays are, chest and back day, Mondays are legs day, whatever. And I had to go into the reason that doesn't work. And, you could really vary those particular days, and you could come up with a way that would work, but it's so much less effective than the constantly varied approach when you're trying to do all these different things. I remember first getting into CrossFit and being like, holy smokes, I'm not supposed to be training my body part, legs, back, chest, whatever, more than once per week because it can't recover any faster than that. It needs to have 72 hours. It needs to have the tear down, the recovery, and the rebuild process in order for me to make the gains that I want to have. And I could not believe it that when you throw that out the window, and some days you do legs 2 days in a row, you do arms 2 days in a row, you do all these things, and some days you have a few days in between, it keeps your body on its toes and it adapts so much faster. I couldn't believe how fast my body was changing and adapting when I got into this no routine. And yes, like I said, there is a way that you are going to program it so that you are not overtraining certain things unless you are specifically overtraining them for a particular reason. So there will be days that I'll do 2 movement patterns in a row. Like, for example, yesterday we did lunges, and today we're doing lunges again. And I think there's another day this week that we're doing bent over rows 2 days in a row. So those are specifically programmed to put your body into a position that it is not used to so that it doesn't get into the routine pattern. And we change up the reps, we change up the intensities, we change up the time that you're doing the reps for, even the number of sets that you're doing. All of this stuff gets changed, the angles in which you attack your body, so that if your nutrition and your recovery is in place, your body is going to adapt at what I would believe is, and what I've seen in myself and other clients, the fastest rate possible. Much faster than if you're getting into a quote-unquote routine where you're going to go and train legs on one day and back on another day. Because if you do that, you have to be knowledgeable enough to know exactly when your body is stopping to adapt and be on point with changing that up. Okay, so you have to be really into like, all right, I'm going to have legs day on Monday, but I'm going to be changing it enough that I'm going to adapt. And that's also not taking into account that your legs may, on some weeks, sometimes be able to do 3 times a week or more. And just doing that one time, the traditional way of thinking that people think of like, oh, I know how to work out, I know my body. Well, I can tell you that most people don't know how to work out and don't know their bodies. Having gone through 20 plus years of intense learning and applying it to myself and the people around me. So don't get in this caught up thought that your routine is something you need to follow. Have the routine of habit, which is the habit, like I said, of working out X number of days per week, eating really good food, tracking what you're eating, making adjustments, and recovering in a way that you know that your body is going to come back stronger. And then throw the rest out the window. Go for long runs sometimes. Like go run a half marathon on a whim. Go, lift heavy weights, do 1 rep max, make sure your form is really, really good and you have all the safety measures put into play, and do everything in between, do, legs 3 days in a row and see what happens. There's some people that believe in squatting heavy every single day as a way to do it. I don't necessarily think that is the best way of doing things, but there are people that have gotten good results doing that type of stuff. So you have to go into this thinking that I'm going to have somebody ideally put my program into place that's going to be optimizing for chaos, essentially, so my body can adapt as best as possible. And then hopefully you have a plan for your recovery, for your stress, for your sleep, for your food, your nutrition, and your macro adaptation, and all of this stuff, so that you can continue to have those chaotic routines be adaptable to you. So this is a short one, guys, today. I hope you get the premise of this, though, that the constantly varied is, unless you have a very specific thing that you're trying to improve in a very specific period of time, like you're trying to get better at dunking a basketball, so you're specifically trying to get those explosive muscles, and there's still some chaos that would be best for that as well, but there's a path to getting more explosive in your calves and your quads and your hamstrings so that you can jump at the highest point. And then it would still have to be adapted so in a way that your body is going to continue improving. But for most people that want generally to be as fit and look as best as possible, that's not going to be the path for them. So I also want to mention today, the podcast will be on a 2-week hiatus because I will be headed into a 14-day full paddle Grand Canyon rafting trip that I am super stoked on. That's been on the calendar for us for about 2 years because it was so hard to get those trips booked. It's just like a once-in-a-lifetime type of thing that we signed up for a couple years ago. It's all-inclusive. They have, your camp set for you, your food is made for you, all this stuff, and 14 days without connection. So I'm going to disconnect. Hope you guys are okay with that. Load up those questions if you have them. You can still email me, and I'll get back to you when I get back out of the old canyon. And I hope that you guys are improving during this time. I hope you guys are focusing on continuing to better yourselves. If you guys would like to get started in the Get Better Project, I have Coach Rory that is, on my team here, and he's completely taking care of everything. So he's got you covered if you guys want to head over and get your 2 free weeks by going to the getbetterproject.com/2weeks, which I highly encourage. Rory is the freaking man. He is a self-improvement ninja, and he can teach even myself a ton of stuff. So Rory is fantastic. Head over to getbetterproject.com/2weeks. We are your online, at-home, self-improvement, nutritional workout, daily workout with coaching videos, weekly athlete check-ins. Is phenomenal. And I should note that the weekly athlete check-ins are the key to people getting results. We've noticed that people that do the weekly athlete check-ins continuously improve in the program. And it's as simple as doing a check-in, basically like, keeping a score in your finances, but for your body and your whole health regime for about 5 to 10 minutes once a week. And we have a high-end coach like myself or Rory that works with you with those things. Like I said, the workouts, the nutrition, the stress, the sleep, the energy levels, all that stuff. We've got it all covered, and that's what makes it special. So if you guys are interested in anything like that, get your 2 free weeks. We got you covered. We'd love to have you in the program. Get out of your routine. Try something different. Get some high-level coaching. Here we go. All right, guys. I will talk to you in a couple of weeks. Hope you're doing fantastic, and I am here for you. Well, I won't be for 2 weeks, but Rory will be, and we'll talk to you soon. The All Around Joe Podcast. We optimize your human performance from my personal experience as an athlete, coach, and all-around self-improvement junkie. I will see you on the next podcast.